When you had that third failure in a row, did you think, I need to pack this in?
Never.
Why not?
I don't ever give up.
It's 2008 and the world is collapsing.
The signs were everywhere, but now it's official, we are in a recession.
We're down by between 3 and 4.5% generally across these markets.
Let's talk about the speed with which we are watching this market deteriorate.
We're red everywhere, essentially, down by 4-5%.
We're down over 16%. Dow at the same time has fallen about 18%. The stock market is now down 21%.
Because we're now down 43%.
2008 was brutal. Yeah, 2008, we had the third consecutive failure of the Falcon 1 rocket for SpaceX. Tesla almost went bankrupt. We closed our financing round 6 p.m. Christmas Eve, 2008. It was the last hour of the last day that it was possible. We would have gone bankrupt 2 days after Christmas otherwise. I had a choice of either put the rest of the money in or the companies are going to die.
At this time, banks failed, markets crashed, and millions lost their jobs. Panic spread as the economy collapsed, because this was the 2008 crisis. During the crisis, when even starting a business was impossible, one man took a bold risk.
Musk decided that the only way to get an affordable rocket was to build it himself.
In the year 1950, his mother traveled from Canada to South Africa. 20 years later, she got married to Elon Musk, and next year in 1971, Elon was born.
He always was very curious, and when he started reading, anything he read, he memorized. I mean, he knew exactly what he'd read.
He hated going to school because the other kids liked to follow him home, and they would throw soda cans at his head.
However, he didn't have a great childhood, and that's what makes him who he is.
I thought I was insane.
Why did you think you were insane?
Because it was clear that other people did not. Their mind wasn't exploding with ideas.
They wouldn't understand you?
I hope they wouldn't find out, because they might put me away or something.
You thought that?
For a second, yes. It was not a happy childhood. My father has serious issues.
So he sought refuge in computer games, which got him into coding, which led to the creation of his first company, which he sold by the time he was in his mid-20s, so, nobody is throwing cans at him now. Before we call these people visionaries, before they have that kind of success, we have other words for them. We call them, geek. When I was in high school, we called them geeks, and it was not a compliment. What is a geek? Somebody who is obsessed with learning something, mastering a skill set or a body of knowledge, and would rather do that than develop social skills.
I think on Wikipedia it says that I was inspired by my father in terms of technology. This is actually not true. I think that needs to be corrected. He's somewhat of a Luddite, actually, in many respects, particularly computers. He didn't want to buy a computer and refused to use computers and said they would never amount to anything. As far as role models,
there are American heroes who don't like this idea. Neil Armstrong, Gene Cernan have both testified against commercial spaceflight in the way that you're developing it, and I wonder what you think of it.
Now is the time to overrule this administration's pledge to mediocrity.
I was very sad to see that, because those guys are, those guys are heroes of mine, so it's really tough.
We create a parallel world to escape the world that rejects us, or the world that we find too painful to live in. But some people are so good at doing this and master such an amazing skill set that they take their world and they infuse it into our world and they change the world. And these are the people we call visionaries.
But I think people can choose to be not ordinary. They can choose to not necessarily conform to the conventions that were taught to them by their parents. So yes, I think it's possible for ordinary people to choose to be extraordinary.
But the edge can be a very interesting place to be. I mean, it can be lonely and painful and sometimes dangerous, and I don't mean to underplay any of that. But it's also the place where something is in the process of turning into something else. Revolution enters at the edges. Well, we've spent part, if not most, if not all of our lives trying to amputate those parts of ourselves that did not fit. You know, we've tried to be pleasing and we've tried to do what's expected, and we suck at it. And we eventually reach a point where we realize that we are so depressed or stuck or numbed out that the only way to save ourselves is to figure out how to be ourselves on purpose. Before we call these people visionaries, before they have that kind of success, we have other words for them. We call them, you know, geek or outsider, socially awkward, weird, a little different, odd one out.
When critics say you can't do this, your answer to them is,
We've done it.